Hi, it's Rob. Welcome to another video. Thanks for joining me. And this video is a response to Richard Mccook. He made a video a couple of days ago showing flawless sides on albums. So as soon as I saw that, I thought, yeah, I'll have a go at that. So I picked 10 albums and for me, they've got a flawless side to them. So the first album is from 1979 and it's Drums and Wires. So I saw XTC in 1980 and they played a lot of tracks from this album. And side one on this album to me is flawless. Starts off with Making Plans for Nigel, which was the first single success for XTC. And it goes into Helicopter, another great track, which could have been a single. There's a lot of tracks on this album that could have been singles. We go into Day In, Day Out, another really catchy track. When You Near Me I Have Difficulty, 10 feet Tall, and Roads to Girdle the Globe. So to me this is XTC at their peak. I know they produced numerous albums after this, but after the first two albums, when this came out, to me this is XTC at the peak. They never bettered this for me. And side one, I mean side two is pretty perfect as well, but side one for me is flawless. So yeah, Drums and Wires by XTC. The first one that sort of sprung to mind for me as a flawless side. The second album by my favourite band, The Jam. So which album am I going to show? Decided to go with All My Cons, the third album again from 1978. But I've gone for side two. Side one is very strong as well. But for me, side two is flawless. Starting with Billy Hunt, It's Too Bad. Then we go to two songs that sort of really showcase Paul Weller's sort of songwriting was really progressing, developing, especially the song Fly, The Place I Love, and then the Barnstorming, A Bomb in Water Street, which was a double A-sided single. And then, of course, Down in a Tube Station at Midnight, where it really sort of cemented the Jam's place and really had people sort of sitting up and thinking there's something special going on here. But side two, side one's pretty good, but side two, absolutely flawless from the Jam's third album, All My Cons. There's a bit of a theme here because a lot of these albums are albums that I spoke about before on my channel. And this album, Rattlesnakes from 1984. Again, which side am I going to say? I'm going to go with the first side on this one. Starting off with the track Perfect Skin. So I went to see Lloyd Cole and the Commotions in 85, and I was aware of this when it came out in 84. And they were kind of the Smiths, and like this album sort of was on a parallel for me. I was playing the Smiths debut and I was playing this album, the two albums that I was really into towards the end of sort of 84. I was like 19, 20. The second track, Speedboat. Then we go into the title tracks, Rattlesnakes, Down on Mission Street, and then the absolutely epic Forest Fire. But I did a video a while ago about 10 tracks on an album's perfect, and there's quite a few albums here that have got 10 tracks, and this one, 5 on each side. Flawless first side for me. Really got me into Lloyd Cole and the Commotions. There's a train of thought that the second album, Easy Pieces, is as good, if not better, but for me, this one wins every time. Rattlesnakes by Lloyd Cole and the Commotions, a debut album. This is a debut album, I think it's from 77, this one, and it's in Jury. So when this came out, my sister, who's 5 years older than me, had a copy of this, and she had a really sort of good collection of punk albums, Stranglers. She went to see Joy Division and Gang of Four and Public Image. I spoke to her a while ago and she could rhyme off the gigs she went to. And she had a copy of this album, so it's one that I used to sort of play when I was like 13, 14. And the first side of this starts off with Wake Up and Make Love With Me, which I think that's a great opening track. Goes into Sweet Gene Vincent and Partial to Your Abracadabra My Old Man and Billericay Dickie. I mean, I think I did a video where I only need one album by a certain artist, and really this is the only Injury album that I need. I know there's a lot of people who love a lot of albums by Injury, but this is such a special one for me. It was only quite recently that I discovered that that is actually his son, Baxter, who's a solo artist, who I've got a couple of albums by. But great cover, great album. And side one for me on this one is Flawless. So we've had 4, let's have the 5th. So this one is one that's very, shown very a lot on this channel. Zenyatta Mondatta by the Police from 1980. Starting off with Don't Stand So Close to Me. Driven to Tears. When the World is Running Down. You Make the Best of What's Still Around. Canary in a Coal Mine. Voices in My Head. Great track. Bombs Away. 6 tracks on this side. And when I'm working and I'm testing, if I'm on my own, and I'll stream this album. And probably stream it every week. Absolutely love it. And side 1 for me on this album is Flawless. The 3rd album again by the Police, Zenyatta Mondatta. Now, this is a 3rd album as well, actually. I think this came out in 92, so more recent, but it's still over 30 years ago. So a band I went to see quite a lot in the 90s with Amitri. This is actually their 3rd album, Change Everything. So my ex-missus was very keen on Amitri. Initially she was dragging me to see them, but I got pretty fond of them. And I think Justin Curry is a great songwriter. He's got health issues now, and you know, it's very sad, but live they were great. Every time they did an album we used to go and see them. And the first side on this album, this got reissued earlier this year. If you're in America, you probably, I think they had a hit with Roll to Me, but this album, it's a really good album. And the first side of this, I mean, Justin Curry's very good at sort of singing, writing songs about sort of failed relationships and stuff like that. And you know, if you've gone through a bad breakup, I don't know whether it's a good album to listen to, but it starts off with Be My Downfall, Just Like a Man, which is a bit of a bluesy number. When You Were Young, Surface of the Moon, that's a great track. I Won't Take the Blame, and The First Rule of Love. 6 tracks that make up side 1 of this album, Flawless for me. I know when it came out on vinyl, couldn't wait to get it, and it's one that I've played quite a lot this year, and it certainly stood the test of time. And side 1 for me is Flawless on this album, Amitri and Change Everything. Back to the 70s and back to we're on side 2 this time, and Exodus by Bob Marley and the Wailers. So side 2 is like a bit of a greatest hits. There's 4 singles: Jamming, Waiting in Vain. I think that was a double A though, wasn't it? Turn Your Lights Down Low is a really good Bob Marley track. 3 Little Birds, One Love, People Get Ready. So when I was at school, when I was like 12 and this came out, everybody seemed to be suddenly into Bob Marley and the Wailers, and this sort of contains a lot of tracks. Jamming in particular was a big hit for Bob Marley, and yeah, side 2 on this album is pretty flawless. It's the Bob Marley album that I sort of reach for. I do have quite a lot of his albums, but this is the one that hits the turntable more than any other. We're going into Scotland again, and I'm going to show Deacon Blue, their debut album, Raintown, from, I think it's 87, this one. A little bit of a concept album. Ricky Ross is a great songwriter, and I went to see them live in 87 on their first tour in a pretty small venue called the Broadwalk, which was pretty close to the Hacienda in Manchester. And Deacon Blue were great live. There was probably about 60 people there. But I was familiar with the album at the time, and this album is one that I'm really fond of. The opening track, Born in a Storm, Raintown, Ragman, he looks like Spencer Tracy. Really sort of showcases Ricky Ross's songwriting. He's extra special. Loaded was a track that wasn't a hit single, but it should have been. And it finishes off with When Will You Make My Telephone Ring, which is another great closing track. So Deacon Blue, a band I was very fond of in that sort of 86, 87 period. And this is another album that I never tire of. It's pretty flawless. Side 1 of Raintown by Deacon Blue. 2 to go, and I've chosen The Bible from 1988. So this album, when I did a video with my top 10 from 88, and I had this, I think I had it number 3. I saw The Bible live many times. I've always said the name of the band held them back a little bit. Sort of folk pop, if you like. So the opening track on here, Skywriting, is as good an opening track as I've got on any album. I absolutely love it. Honey Be Good should have been a hit single. It wasn't. Skeleton Crew, another great track. November Brides and Cigarette Girls. 10 tracks on this album as well. This is an album that's pretty cheap. If you see it in the bins, pick it up. Really good album. Bo Huerdine, such a great songwriter, and they were great live as well. And side 1 for me on this is flawless. The band's called The Bible, and the album is Eureka. And the last album I'm going to show is by an artist that Richard showed on his video. So can you guess what it's going to be, Richard? Yeah, it's Billy Joel and Glass Houses. So there was a record shop in the place where when I started working. Only a small sort of little town really, called Royton, not even a town, sort of in between Rochdale and Oldham. And they had a record shop, and it was closing down, and all the records were £1, and I can remember picking this up because I love that. It's still rock and roll to me, and I absolutely love that track. But I discovered this is a really good album, and when Richard did his video, I thought, what about Glass Houses? I'll revisit it. And when I revisited it, I thought, yeah, this has got a flawless side 1. So I can't actually read the writing on here. It's so small. Tell me I need glasses. You May Be Right is a great opener. Sometimes a Fantasy. All the songs are just so catchy. Don't Ask Me Why. I'm not sure if that was a single, but it was a great track. Still rock and roll to me, and it closes with All for Lena, which was a very minor hit for Billy Joel. But I really liked Glass Houses, and really nice revisiting it. And side 1 for me is pretty flawless. Someone you probably didn't expect to see, and probably didn't realise I had a Billy Joel album. But I picked this up. This isn't my original copy. I think I got rid of it in the 80s at some point, but I saw it for £1 at a boot sale maybe a couple of years ago, and I picked it up. And yeah, what a great album it is. Billy Joel and Glass Houses from 1980, I think. So 10 albums, flawless sides, responding to Richard Mccook. Go and check Richard's channel out, give him a sub, and if you've got any comments about what I showed in this video, I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.